Thank you. That's the most important thing I have to say right now. If there's nothing else you take away from this video, then please take my gratitude. You, the people who followed me through my days at Linus Media Group, and you, the people who found me only afterwards. Or even you, the people who have no idea who the heck I am, or, hate my guts for one reason or another. Thank you all. It's because of you that I reached the heights that I did. And it's because of you that I'm here in front of the camera again. If you just want to know what that means for this channel, head to this timestamp. But if you want to know more about what I mean, well, when I first started this career in content creation, I didn't have any grand ambitions. I didn't expect to ever be on camera. I didn't expect certain people to like me even if I was, and I certainly didn't expect to have fans. My biggest goal was to make content that made people as excited about tech as I am. And I was willing to move cross-country to reach the largest audience I could. I wanted to share the knowledge that I've gained throughout the years and, well, hopefully, to help people through darker times, the way that YouTube helped me through mine a decade ago. Honestly, the first thing that went through my mind when I left LMG, the first thing that I cried about, was the realization that I might not be able to do that anymore. The whole reason I came here in the first place. The thing is, before leaving, I could still do that, even without being on camera. When I came out as trans in 2023, I kind of expected that to be the end of my on-camera appearances. And, for the most part it was. And I was fine with that. I stuck with writing because, even if I didn't host, I was still making the content. I was still able to work on cool things and, share them with the class. That was all that mattered to me. Being on camera was never the goal. It was never the point. But even now, I get so many mentions and messages asking when I'll be back on camera. I get notes from people saying that they look up to me, that they miss me. And somewhere along the line, I started to realize that far from the negative response that I had expected, people legitimately wanted to see me. So that leaves me with a strange question that I honestly wasn't comfortable with answering. At what point does being the center of attention go from the heights of hubris to the less selfish option? The funny thing about hubris is that you often won't realize that you have it until it's clear that you're not quite as good as you think you are. And, well, maybe it's the same in reverse. I've personally followed the Dunning-Kruger curve on several topics, including PC repair, and, I've consistently been shown that there's still far more to learn than I knew. There's always something more to learn. It's why I know there's plenty more for me to learn about myself, and, well, far more to learn about being in the public eye like I was at LMG. And now that I'm putting myself out there again, it's also why I won't ever claim to be an expert at anything. Not even my favorite video games. Can I play that on Maniac? No. Sure, part of it's a self-esteem thing. Yeah, but I also don't ever want to return to a position where I think I know everything and, just get arrogant about it. What I'd much rather do is learn more and share what I've learned. Take Apple products, for example. Up until 2011 or 2012, I hated them on principle. I thought Macs were stupid. I thought iPods were an overpriced knockoff of existing tech that everyone thought was Apple's invention. For some reason, even the word podcast annoyed me because we already had words for that. But what I hated was also what I didn't understand. What Apple brought to the table wasn't new and revolutionary. It didn't have to be. But rather what it was tech that was packaged in a way that made it accessible to people who weren't, snorting lines of tech like I was. What I saw was a watering down of a passion of mine. And I hated that. A lot. But the thing is, where did that leave me in my tech career? I had no idea what to do when someone brought me a Mac to fix or set up. I looked like a complete idiot, and that's because I was. For as much as I thought I knew, there was always someone else who was way more advanced. Like computer repair, it wasn't until I was in a high school work placement that I even installed a CPU for the first time. Not till my first job till I built a computer from scratch for the first time. And Linux? Like when I was dabbling with Mandrake or whatever back in the day, at least one classmate of mine was already setting up servers and networking in like Red Hat. And later, a coworker was daily driving it, even back when Wine couldn't at all pull off the latest games. Like sure, I was always the person that my friends and family turned to for tech help. But I wasn't ever an expert. Like if you've ever wondered how someone can put proficient with Microsoft Office on a resume and then turn out to have no idea how to do even mildly interesting things with formatting or formulas, like that's kind of where I was at. And frankly, that's still where I'm at with Office. Like over time, I slowly started to realize how little I really knew. In the years leading up to working in LMG, I had a lot of time to reevaluate that. For reasons I'm still grappling with and won't get into today, I tied a lot of my self-worth to my usefulness and expertise. And let me tell you, I suffered for that. Since then, I've gotten familiar enough with all of the above, basically, to be what I consider to be useful. And I think that one of my real strengths has always been in taking complex things and breaking them down into simpler terms. I think that's probably where my reputation for being an expert comes from. It's also why I don't want to claim to be an expert, because really, I'm not. What I am is an enthusiast with a drive to learn. I'm someone who wants to share a passion with the world. Someone who wants to show others the cool, shiny things that make their eyes light up and activates all the good neurons. Most of my knowledge comes from just casually reading and messing around with stuff, and it's the kind of thing I want to encourage people to do. So many people tell me that they could never do whatever it is that I do. It's too complicated. But the reality is, as much as people put me up on a pedestal as some tech deity, there's nothing special about me. I'm not a comp sci major. Heck, A+ is the highest certification that I have. And that's kinda tech's bottom floor. There's a whole host of stuff that I have absolutely no idea about, including stuff that those same people are good at. And here's the thing, like, as far as I'm concerned, they can totally do what I do. And for that matter, you can totally do what I do. And I think that's what I want this project to be about. I want to spark wonder and excitement, and open the door so you can follow me down the rabbit holes I fall into. And hey, if you do, that's great. Welcome to the party. If not, then, well, maybe you'll still get a kick out of some of the things that I dig up, whether it's bleeding edge tech, or retro time, or something else entirely. I mean, I do think about the Roman Empire a lot. But it is important to remember that it is just me here. I don't have the support staff that I did at Linus Media Group. I'm choosing my own topics, I'm writing my own scripts, I'm shooting my own videos, editing my own videos, and half of those things are not something that I've got much experience with. I mean, heck, I've tried 3 times now to shoot this exact video because I kept messing up, like the lighting or the framing or even just the delivery. It's a huge learning process for me. And that's the reality that comes with going solo, to say nothing of things like no longer having access to test equipment and the uncertain income. That last part worries me the most, though. I've been exposed to a lot of camera work and editing at LMG, and I absorbed a fair chunk of it through osmosis. But the business side, that's a black box to me. So here's how I think this is going to work. You probably noticed this video is monetized. Why? Well, aside from being able to pay rent this month, which I definitely do want to do, I want to get a feel for how feasible it is for me to go without using things like mid-rolls that disrupt the flow of a video.
The Sega Genesis has blast processing. Super Nintendo doesn't.
I'm also looking to figure out if I can do all of this without sponsorships. Like, I mean, if sponsorships came my way, I might consider them, but I'd like to be very careful about who I sign with. I'd want to use my own voice rather than simply like parroting talking points, you know? Like VPN sponsorships, they're common on YouTube, but I'd like to actually educate people on how to use them. And I need to have used the product or service before. I'm not going to say anything that I disagree with, and that's something that I'm going to take directly from LMG. But some channels don't have sponsorships. And if I can do this without them, I will. But the only way to do that is with direct support from, well, regular viewers out there like you. And that is a difficult topic for me. Like, I wanted to establish myself on my own merits before taking people's money for basically just work that I did at LMG. For those of you who sent super thanks when I got monetization for the channel and accidentally retroactively enabled them, well, thank you. Genuinely. You have no idea how much that support means to me morally. But at the same time, people have also legitimately asked, do I have a Patreon that they can send money to support me? And I don't know. It's something that is just so completely out there for me because I don't see my own worth in the same way that a lot of people seem to. It kind of blows my mind. Here's the compromise. I can commit to only so much right now. So I'm gonna launch a Patreon, so you can support me if you want, but think of it more like a tip jar. I can offer some of the standard stuff, like videos a day early, names in videos, a Discord server, maybe some behind-the-scenes stuff or updates on what I'm working on, but I can't really do much else for that right now. If that sounds good to you, though, you can find the link in the description. But please, don't feel like you need to. I'm still going to be making the videos. And to start with, I'm aiming for a bi-weekly schedule to accommodate for, well, let's call it training. And I'm planning to start with useful tech tips and tech quickie style content to cut my editing teeth on. Like, for example, did you know that Bluetooth audio doesn't have to suck on PC, or that it matters which USB ports you use, aside from just whether they're 3.0 or whatever? Or have you ever wondered why a 10,000 milliamp battery bank looks like this, but laptops only usually go up to like 2,800 milliamp hours? I'm also looking at documents and things that I've been having to learn over the past few months, and there'll probably be a project or two thrown in there too. Like, I had to get my workstation back up to date hardware-wise, and well, I mean, it was like 2018 hardware. Not terrible, but not really up to snuff. And I can go into the decisions that I made during the process of acquiring that new hardware. The problem is I still haven't built it yet. This is actually still my old workstation. I really need to get on that. But I just won't be able to do things like review AMD's upcoming Ryzen 9 9950X 3D or the NVIDIA 5000 series Blackwell GPUs that are basically launching now. Like, that doesn't mean that I don't have opinions on tech or anything, just to be clear, but, you know, anything that I say about next-gen CPUs or GPUs or whatever, that should be taken as the opinion that it is, informed or not. As for a certain other elephant in the room, if you've seen the only other video on this channel, then you'd know that I'm transgender. Now, I don't intend to make the channel about that, don't worry, but I do hope that that puts me into a unique position of being an inviting figure for everyone of every persuasion. And, like, to that end, I'm not going to hide it, and I'm not going to hide my gay little screwdriver either. I just wanted to get that out of the way because while I am going to keep being who I am, I don't care to get into the things like fan wars. I don't want to get into politics or drama YouTube or to be compared to other creators, like positively or negatively. I want to stand on my own. I want the community that sprouts up around my content to be open and accommodating without gatekeeping or unnecessary snark. At least that's how I feel today. And in some ways, it's how I've felt for years now. Like, I want to prove that you can be successful without clickbait, without hot takes, without flashy spectacle, and hopefully without stupid YouTube thumbnail faces. I don't ever want to do another one of those. Like, no shade to the people who are playing the game. I get it. But I want to prove that the stuff that I like, the stuff that I'm interested in, people are just as interested in it as I am. After all, isn't that kind of what YouTube's supposed to be about? So, come and learn with me. Remove the blocks saying you can't do it. Open your mind and become an expert, like me, the way that I did. You'll be able to find me on YouTube, Blue Sky, Twitter, Threads, and Fediverse to start with. And I'll do my best to cross-post everything so nobody's left out. And I guess that's it. That's everything I needed to say. I'm looking forward to getting back to it. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, and, well, let's do great things. Okay, I really hope that's it this time.